I was, of course, hoping to get away with just refilling these and away we go. However, the front seal on the left-hand side over there, oh yeah. See, I could tell this is all darker, and we've already got a leak coming out there. So, I may give them a little bit of time to soak up some oil and see if those things reseal themselves, and when they don't, I guess we're pulling them off. Well, hello again, guys. Thank you so much for coming back. Recently, okay, it was 2 hours ago tops, my worst fears regarding the shock absorbers on our 48 Chevy project, our current one, they were confirmed, and they are both leaking. One is leaking profusely, the other just a steady drip. But channel member, regular friend, are you a member or not? I don't know. Mr. Signal Yard, you may or may not know him. He sent me a free pair of shock absorbers, upper control arms, off of one of his. Actually, I think this is off the one he drives around. He just replaced them. So we are going to tear these down, rebuild them, and then replace the ones that are on the car. And in fact, man, it's got to be a year ago at least, I already started tearing one down. I have one torn down completely. And in the meantime, I have been planning and scheming and collecting parts, searching for parts, ordering when I can, ordering tools, and we're finally getting close. So I think we can rebuild these ourselves, get them back on the 48 Chevy, and I am going to bring you along for the ride. Let's dig in. Now here's a closer look at the two. If you are going to have a leak on these, most likely it is out of the seals around the shaft. And unfortunately, these are a welded unit. The upper control arm portion is welded. Once you get that weld off, you can remove the arms from the shaft. And then you can get to your seals. Some other points of interest would be your check valves. You've got a rear cover, a service cover, and you've got a plug for adding oil. Unfortunately, on our project car, no matter how, I think it drains out on the right hand one. It drains out of one of the seals just as quick as you can pour it in with a little squirt bottle. So that will never do. Now I have had this one, as I said, torn apart for a very long time. I was going to throw it together real quick, but I have a few questions in my mind since it has been so long pertaining to the check valves. I'm just not 100% sure what went where, and there may be only one way to reassemble it, but I am going to just wait till I have this one torn apart. I'll know for sure, and then we can go back together with it. So one thing I put together before I even started this process was a little jig to get me to weld everything back up, hopefully correctly. Not even sure if I 100% remember my thought process there, but obviously we have a base that I can put in the vise. You can't see them now, you'll see them a little better later, but I just welded. We're here in the US. I use US hardware, you know, like the good Lord intended. So, oh boy, that went too far, didn't it? 1/2-inch coarse thread nuts I welded to the base plate, 3 of them, to correspond with the 3 holes that mount the shock absorber to the car. And then I got appropriate length bolts to go down through just to hold that secure in place. So those are about, I would say, 7/16 thick. And then I've got a piece of 1.5 inch square stock, or square tubing, and an extra piece of 1/8 inch strap. And so from the bottom of our shock absorber, you know, sitting on top of the nuts, to the top of the platform here is about 1 1/16, I'm thinking. And that just helps me relocate. I think this is the small end. We'll get that correctly. Maybe it isn't. That just helps me locate everything, get it all centered before we begin. So that is what that is about. Right now, I am going to disassemble the other one. At least, yeah, I pretty much have to disassemble it completely. So here you can see all of that, very simple. And then my bolts, these are 2 3.5s and 1 1/4 inch. Doesn't look like I cut it down, so I don't know where that came from. Unusual size, but maybe that's readily available. I don't remember. So we're just gonna, just for fun, bolt this in. And then what we have to do, you see how this holds that up level. I wonder if I punched the shaft and the arms. Seems like a smart thing to do. It looks like there's a punch mark. There's a line in that one. Not too sure. There's a line there. That may be factory, and that may be all we needed, right? So I will clean this off and make sure we have the same thing going on. And I'm going to clean my weld off. Boy, that's a booger weld if I ever saw one. Oh boy, we're going to need a lot more aggressiveness there. Okay, there is no mark, no line on the second one. I don't know why that is. Maybe, you know, different guy putting it together. Maybe this one's been rebuilt in ages gone by. Not sure. Doesn't really matter. So we're going to mark this. And if you may be wondering, how do I know that this corresponds with this line? Well, there is only one way to assemble these if you keep your parts straight, you know. The two ends of the shafts are two different sizes. Goes in easy. I mean, obviously too big, the right size shaft is way too big, won't go in. So there's only one way to reassemble it, so we have to know this size corresponds with this end of the shaft, and if there's a line on that, I'm pretty sure we line them up. So I am just going to put a punch mark. Wow, that's some hard metal. I may want to grind that with our cutoff wheel. Wow, that is impressive. Well, it's marked, but I may... Okay, I'm repeating myself. Anyway, I'm going to open the back up. Let's just do that here. I don't want to make a mess of it. There probably isn't... Screws flying everywhere. Probably isn't much oil in it, if anything, but we just want to make sure. Okay. Anything that might be in there is probably solidified. I have a Milwaukee Dremel-like rotary tool, but it was brand new, and both of the little M12 batteries that I got with it completely shot. They do not charge, which I find very strange, but at over $65 a pop, and I haven't gotten online to see what deals I can find, but at Ace Hardware, 65 bucks. So we'll just put it in the old drill. And that'll have to be good enough. I think I found a snoring duck. Now, I don't recall needing a puller for any of this at all, so I'm going to try it with just a punch. See if this comes off. You know. Well, I guess I can put it in the press. Maybe that's what I did. I don't know. Finally just popped. I started here and I'm ending up here. That was a tough one. There we go. Alright, these caps should just twist off somewhat. There we go. Right. And there is the root of most of your problems. Most likely. So now I have got to get it out of the rocker arm in there. Once again, that is splined, so I'm going to have to push on the narrow end and get that to go that way. I need come up with a good jig to press all this sideways. don't remember that one happening. Oh goodness. Little stuck there. We got some spring-loaded check valves here on top of the springs that go under the pistons there. So that is one of the things I needed to double check. I guess I will try to find the other side that flew out and almost took out my skull, you know. Yeah, here's this one laying here. And it's got just a little coil spring in there. I think I am missing one spring for the other one. It was completely disintegrated. I think there was water in it, so I will have to come up with an answer for that, but that centerpiece goes inside there like that. I needed to come up with an answer for a spring, you know, today preferably, for this check valve, which you can see in there, maybe. Very, very fine spring. So all I did, I just took a ballpoint pen apart and straightened out the spring from in there, and then coiled it around the pen and reshaped it. It's gonna be an answer for today. You know, it's probably lacking any professionalism, but it should do the job. So stuff all that in there. Get our little center in. Yeah. Looks like it's gonna work. Make sure everything's tucked in there. Just like that. Hey now, double wrench it. Yeah. Broken washer, we'll take care of that. Looks like I need a pick. Get my knife dirty instead. That way when I cut an apple apart later, I know why it's got such a wang to it. A wang and a tang. No, I need a pick. Okay, and the one on the top side is, survey says, it is the little angled one. Do I have such a one? I have such a one, but I don't have the spring or the keeper or anything. Ooh, that's not good. I may have to rob those out of the other shock absorbers. Oh dear. So here you can see the difference between the two. Two little of those spring-loaded check valves. For whatever reason, on the first one, got no spring and I've got no end plate or end washer that the, you know, and then the shaft is peened over to hold the spring in. None of that exists here, and I would assume if I had it, it would be in here. So evidently someone put that thing back together incomplete. So I really have no alternative but to take the valves out of the one on the car and put them in that one. Or I could put these in that one, and then when I'm done here, let's do that. Well, I'm going to run this one to the other shop along with the arms, everything else actually. My blasting cabinet resides there anymore, and so we will take that over there and get it cleaned up. Might as well take this one. I think we are pretty well done. I don't know. I may leave it here. Anyway, we will get this stuff cleaned up and then we will reconvene. I'll pull those other check valves off and maybe even pull the shocks out of the car while I'm there. And then we will get back to work getting these installed. Now there's a couple of things we want to do before, I don't know why I'm grabbing the dial calipers, before we start going back together. And I should pull the plug and make sure everything's okay there. Media blasted these, but I'm still seeing, you know how hard it is to see everything in a blasting cabinet. Still some schmutz here and there, but we'll take care of it. These check valve caps, however, are sealed with a washer, and they look like aluminum, so we just want to make sure we get those popped out of there. We don't want to double washer that stuff. Got some plaque buildup in there as well, and this one is kind of partially broken out already. Nice and soft, so they should come out with a little persuasion with a pick. And we'll make sure we clean that surface up. I don't know why all that looks kind of junky, but anyway. Then the other thing I want to check is our bushings. And truth be told, I already did put this in here, and these feel pretty good. Yeah, they really do. Really no play at all. So I am very moderately convinced somebody took the time and rebuilt this in ages past. Now, knowing that I would need on this one bushings, I went to a machine shop and I had some made. I searched high and low. Absolutely, you cannot find pre-made bushings in this size. I mean, I even went to websites that specialize in stocking bushings. They make bushings. Manufacturer that makes bushings. I inquired about special ordering bushings, but got no farther. I went to not really a local machine shop, but a guy I know over an hour from here, and he turned these out. I wanted to make, well, I'll save that for the end. Anyway, I have those. I put new ones in here. I didn't show it because I just assumed I would be putting them in here as well with you, but that is not the case. I'm trying to remember. I think what I ended up doing, what was just the easiest, I took an awl or a pick maybe, and I drove it. I just ended up gouging out. You know, they're so thin. I broke the thinnest part, which is going to be on the back side. So all that spring pressure is pushing your rocker and the shaft up against this side of the bushing. So that's where the majority of your wear is going to be, and that's where it's going to be the thinnest. And so you just break that out, and then they come out readily enough. So that could be an issue you may have to overcome, but there it is. Now what I want to do here is I want to get our rocker in the right time or the right angle with the shaft, and that with our levers. I'm sure there's a great way to do this from the original manufacturer. And by the way, with this video, just a disclaimer, this is the first pair of these shocks I have ever completely gone through and rebuilt. There's a company out there called Apple Hydraulics, I believe is their name. I have never used them. I know some guys that have similar projects going on that have used them, and you know, from what I understand, everything's perfectly satisfactory. Hold on a second. This tripod's weird. I'm sorry. So I am not trying to cut into their business. I'm not trying to prove there's a better way to do it. I'm not trying to do any of that. In fact, at this point in my experience, if you have a pair of these that need to be rebuilt, my disclaimer, my advice would be look into Apple Hydraulics. Those guys, they have infinitely more experience rebuilding hydraulic systems like vintage shock absorbers than I do. However, the reason I am doing this is because in my moderate insanity, I always want to be able to do as much as I possibly can on these cars myself. I crave that insight, that knowledge, the skills, on and on it goes. I want to learn how to do as much as I can and have that skill set and just continue to develop that. And I want to bring you guys along for the ride. That's a big part of it too. And also, what if Apple Hydraulics closed their doors? Then where are we? That, you know, you gotta keep moving on, right? And so that's the whole reason I'm doing this. I'm not trying to cut into their business. If anyone from there is watching, that's not my intention at all. And I highly recommend, once again, that you go there. Now, I do offer rebuilding services for a lot of components on these 40s, Chevrolets specifically, but I would, you know, consider other things. And I just recommend you, you know, you understand. But I want to make sure my rocker is in alignment with my shaft, because that needs to be, you know, obviously I will get my shaft in line with the control rod arm, because I marked that, you will recall. But what if my rocker is so many degrees at a time with that? You know, once that is where it belongs. So we got to make sure that this is correct. And so I have just drawn a line on top dead center of the rocker arm. And then what I'm going to do, now that I'm all greasy again, I don't know what got me greasy. Did I put my finger in the bushing? That'll get you every time. Okay, I'm going to line up my marks. I need to clean the ends of these things up here. Quite boogered up. So, I got my two marks lined up, shaft and arm. And if I put that in up against where it goes, is this the small bushing? Yeah, that's the small bushing. Put that in where it goes. My arm is against my jig. And then I can mark the very top, what is now the very top of the shaft. So just like that, just put a mark on the shaft. So now, let's put this back in here. Pull our arm off. Sounds like it might hurt. And now we can reassemble. So we need some springs. We need some checks. close-up of how that little spring in there looks. Check. Rocker. Nope, not rocker. Piston. Piston. Now the difficult part. We have to compress those springs. I cut a piece of 3-inch channel to go like that, and I'm going to scoot you back. I should probably put some V's in the bottom of that. That might help it a little. The guy was apparently spoiled rotten by the first shock absorber because everything just slid right together. I was actually kind of amazed. The splines went right into the rocker just by hand, and the arms went right onto the ends of the shaft. But so far this one has been kind of a pain. I took it back apart and I discovered that the splines in the rocker actually aren't cut all the way through. They lack about 1/8 of an inch from going all the way through, and it's on this side. And I had this turned 180, so going, you know, it obviously wasn't going to work. So I turned it around. So maybe now we're stuck again. Try resetting this thing. Okay. Once I get into that other bushing, I also redrew my line the length of the shaft here on this side, because that's a little bit more handy. Alright, now we're going to judge whether we have it lined up or not. It's rocking anyway. On this one I may need to go to the press and push it back in, which I think I will do.
We suggest that you like and subscribe now.
So something that I've been dreaming and scheming about for well over a year now, like I said, honestly, ever since Mr. Signal Yard sent me these shock absorbers, I have been kind of desiring it to get to the point where I could make needed replacement parts for these things in-house at a low enough cost that I could make them available for sale, offer kits perhaps of varying amounts of, you know, whatever you need. And we're getting very, very close. Let me bring you in and show you what we've got going on here. After messing around months ago with one of those Cricut cutters that the crafty ladies are so fond of, cutting out materials and the films and so on and so forth, I tried that and it just did not work with gasket material, especially with the cork. So here, only maybe a month ago tops, I finally said, I've got to do something about this. I knew this was coming up. So I got in touch with a guy that makes tooling for cutting out gaskets, and I was able to afford what I needed. And so this is the end result. I cut these out in-house here just the other day, and somehow I've already lost one of. I think I cut 4 of these out, and I can only find one at the moment. I probably, who knows where I left them. Anyway, these are for the front, and you can see how nice that fits. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And then these are for your rear shocks, and I already have 2 of those installed on our white 48 in the other shop. So that is what we've got going on there. And then for the side seals that go in our little seal cups, that is my next step. What was in our first shock absorber was this black rubber, and you can see why it might have been leaking, you know. But when I dug these out of the one we're going through at the moment, there was cork stuck down inside of here. So evidently, through the years, and whoever rebuilt it, whenever, a couple different materials were used. I scoured the internet once again, and the closest I could come to the dimensions I needed were these. Unfortunately, where I need 1/8 of an inch thick, these are only 1/16. So, for this project, we are stacking these and using silicone to back them up. But eventually I do have the tool to cut these out. I just need to settle on and order the material. Probably going to be a nitrile or Buna rubber material, and we'll get that going. The other thing that I need to lay in a store of is copper washers. This is to replace the aluminum ones under the heads of the check valves that we dug out there with the pick. These are very, very close to the correct size. I just need to revisit what that is and get a bigger supply coming in. So my plans with giving you all this information is that here very soon, I hope, I will have everything I need. The rest of the tooling. I have the cutters. I just need a little bit more tooling so I can set it up in here and do it quickly and efficiently. But my plan is to make these 2 available. I will probably offer each of these in sets of 2 separately, and then maybe I will make a kit with all 4. And then eventually, when I am all ready with it, I will probably do something like a master kit where you get all 4 of these, you get 4 rubber seals for under the caps, and you get 4 copper washers. That would be your master rebuild kit. The only other thing that I really wanted to include, but I'm not sure I'm going to do it, is the bushings. These 4 that I had made ended up being, now there was a little bit of measuring R&D involved for the machinist to, set up and do it. I forget the exact amount. It may have been $80. It may have been $20 a piece by the time all was said and done. And I'm just not sure that I want to go there. So, obviously we've seen you don't always need them. I suppose if an individual needs bushings, then he could always get in touch with a machine shop and go through that himself or herself or whatever. But I don't know. I am just trying to help a guy out and help myself out, help you guys out, make things a little bit more available, because parts for these are not available. And obviously back in the day, these were something wrong with it, pull the whole thing off, put a new one on from off the shelf, and away you go. So you can't do that, and you can't buy this stuff anymore. So now maybe you can. And the best that I can tell you to do as far as buying these and to know when they are available, because I myself cannot answer that question at this date of recording this video. Maybe by the time this video is published, they will already, at least these two items will already be available. To determine that, the only thing I can suggest right now at this date is to visit my website, ratzlaffmotorco.com, go to for sale, and see if I have these up on the website. You cannot buy them there at this point. I would eventually like to get to a point where I do have a website where you can purchase things directly from me, but I just do not have that much consistent merchandise to do that. I have that transmission rebuild stand, I have that front timing cover installer, and then these, and that's really all I have. So I'm pretty sure these will be available through eBay as soon as I have them ready. But you can go to my website and see if they're on the page for sale, and then go on over to eBay. There may even be a link there to take you directly to eBay, or you can just go there. I have not figured out a part number yet, any of that. This is so early in the game. I just needed these for this project. So you can go check that out, and I apologize, but that is the best I can tell you right now. Alright, so I smeared silicone in there all around the edges, and like I said, this is what we're running with on these particular ones. So we are going to triple stack them. That's actually giving us slightly more, 1/16 of an inch more surface area, right, than we started with. I just want to make sure that that cap is sealing on around the outside edge is mainly what I'm concerned about. Oh, I think we got the edge of a seal sticking out here. I don't like that. Alright, we're just going to concern ourselves with getting the marks lined up on our big curvy arm, the large end of the shaft. Yeah, it might be one off. Let's turn it up a little. Still looks one off. That looks better, I think. Yep. Now we know that's oriented correctly. We can put our small shaft on, and as long as it's down against our stop here, everything should be good. So these are on as far as they can go, pushing up against our caps. We have about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit less of shaft showing. Here there are shoulders, you know, obviously they stopped cutting the splines, so those are going to run up against that. The outside, the ends of our arms are both down against our stop, just like that, and they are in time. I'm going to take my itsy bitsy C-clamp here and just close this gap to the thickness that our cutting blade is. That cut that apart. I'm going to tack it. I don't think I have the gas on. Falling over trash. Alright. Hey, that sounded a little better. And we'll run a bead. Alright, then I'll flip it over, unbolt it, flip it over, and do the same on the other side. Well, I got the old shock absorber off the left-hand side there, pulled out the check valves, and we will throw those in. They were a bit nasty, but we soon got them in good nick, so we're just gonna throw them back in. I got our new crush washers here. And this guy. Now, this probably goes without saying at this point. This isn't a restoration, so to speak. I've obviously media blasted them. They're nice and clean for the most part. I'll wipe them down again. But I'm not going for any particular exact factory look here. I will throw some paint on them. Just put the covers on and just paint it, wipe everything down, paint them black. And that'll be good enough. Get some of our NOS antique store fluid in there. Let's go a little more. Might as well get as much as we can in there. And then our beautiful, beautiful gaskets. That tooling turned out so well. I'm just very pleased how that all happened. Well, there we go, guys. Both of our shock absorbers are back together, filled with fluid. I threw some paint at it, ready to go back in the 48 Chevy. Of course, you will be seeing all of this later, as soon as I can. It'll probably be the last video for this car. I say that tentatively because the way things go, you never know. But this is going to get me back on the ground now with getting these back in there. So absolutely 100% I have confidence that you can do this at home. If you think you can, you can. You need to take some precautions. You need to make a jig like I did so that you have a baseline for your arms. Marking the shaft, definitely mark the shaft and the arm, at least on the large end, and then everything else should go back together just fine. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you should be able to do it. You can make the cover gaskets. I've done that in the past. The crush washer for the check valve caps, that can be found McMaster Car. You can find that on eBay. The rubber or the silicone washers that I use for side seals, I found those online. All of that is find-outable, and you can find that. So if that is something you want to do, now once again I just want to make sure you know that there is at least one place that I know of that will be happy to send you a rebuilt one, and that is Apple Hydraulics. Again, I've had no contact with them. I have never used their services, but from what I understand, they do a good job. So I'm going to throw these back on. There you go. Thank you for joining me. God bless you. See you on the next one. Oh, you're righty, not lefty. Okay.